The St. Louis business owners, Rick and Stacy, who could not be here, Kessler, they never expected they'd be writing a book together. As parents of two amazing girls, beautiful girls, a successful entrepreneur and a real estate agent, the couple keeps a very busy schedule. Well, they actually wrote the book that you've heard about, the maestro, the songteller of the Savannah Valley, that you see a picture of up on the right hand. The other thing I want to be able to say is that he is founder and CEO of CH&M Holdings, an umbrella organization over a group of faith-based, family-focused organizations, but vital is his heart's passion. Well, rather than say any more, let him talk for himself and also introduce the man who's on the screen. So Rick, the screen is yours.
Thank you.
The table is yours.
So I love this. This is very easy. I get to introduce a man that needs absolutely no introduction whatsoever. I'm sure all of you here have either read one of his books in just the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, but Mark has, is this now? Yeah. Is it working now? Okay. If I just talk normal, is that okay? Yeah. All right, I think I'm pretty loud. Why don't we try that? If I can.
Go directly to it.
I think I can at least introduce Mark for you guys. So, Mark, co-author or co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul, has sold over 800,000 books worldwide, if you can imagine that. I love this man. I love his wife, Crystal, who couldn't join us, so he's wifeless today too. I'll explain why my wife couldn't make it a little bit later. I want to get to Mark. We got to spend a lot of time with Mark and Crystal out in Scottsdale, out in their home. Fell in love with them, fell in love with this project, and I'll tell you all more about how we got involved with it after we hear from Mark, but I just want you to get as much of this man as you humanly can, so I'd like to introduce Mark Victor Hansen.
Great, nice to see you all. And good, I think it's good afternoon out there. So, first of all, I'm excited to be friends with Rick and Stacy. Are just magnificent human beings. Seeing as this is a retirement community, or so I'm told, I just want to do one fun book that we did a long time ago. Most of you remember Art Linkletter. When he was 98, he and I wrote this book, How to Make the Rest of Your Life the Best of Your Life. And we said to stay young and be vital and exercise and all that, you got to have two 20-somethings come into your life every year for the rest of your life. And we wrote a lot of cool ideas like that. We said never retire from something to nothing. Instead, put on new tires and go in a new, bigger, better direction that's meaningful, purposeful, and fun and impactful and humorful for you. Because if you watch Art Linkletter, you know, kids say the darndest things, house party, or I don't remember what the third one was right this second, but you know, I did travel around the world with Art, and he was just funny all the time. And my wife's father owned all the Kentucky Fried Chicken with Art in Mexico. But most of you, if I raise your hands, how many of you have read a Chicken Soup for the Soul book? Could I see you raise your hands? Oh, thank you. Good. We're communicating. If you haven't, there's a 20th anniversary issue out now, and that'd be fun for you. If any of you are still working and want to make money, I just do that. We did a 1 Minute Millionaire where we showed a woman that was post 60. She got fired by Perry Como, came to us and said, could I make $1 million? And we said, we'll make $1 million in 90 days. And we helped her make $1 million in 90 days. And left-hand side tells you how to do it, right-hand side tells you how to do it as a story. And all of you have great stories in you and books in you. And then just more for fun, I thought, I did a book with my little autobiography was written by an 84-year-old, whoops, that's not mine. I put all these here for you all. But I thought it'd be fun to go through this. I've got a brand new biography out, I'd love you to read it, called Relentless. Done by, as I said, an 84-year-old named Mitzi Perdue. Now, you all know her father created the Sheraton hotel chain during the Depression, and then her husband created Perdue Chicken, which does only 22 million chickens a week. And if you buy your chickens at Costco, like we buy cooked chicken once a week or two, that's all from Perdue. It's called White Label, and that's just great fun. But Mitzi said, each and every one of us, and I'm 75, and my goal is to live to be 127 with options for renewal. And if you watched any of my YouTube videos, I suggest that you figure out what you want, and that's how old I want to live, be, and I want a high quantity of life only if I have a high quality of life, and I want to live with a positive mental attitude. But what Mitzi Perdue did is she's the only double heiress in America. To get her inheritance, she had to write her autobiography at age 40, so 44 years ago. But we wrote a little book for you to do fun with that called the Speed Write Your Life Story or Your Autobiography, which I hope all of you do. And then what he asked me to do is tell you about our publishing house, which we published Rick and Stacy's book, and we started it, and then I'll open it up to questions after this, but we started it, my wife and I, at January 15 months ago, now that we're in March, and it's been an exciting success. I did a YouTube video, and I hope you'll watch those, but you're either depressing and compressing or expressing, meaning doing new, different, more exciting, more wonderful, more adventurous things for yourself. And we said, wow, the publishing industry is collapsing thanks to the pandemic, which, anyhow, we've gone from 19,000 bookstores down to 400, and we said, look, they're going the wrong direction. Plato taught us that whoever controls the story controls the future. So I don't know what you all think, but I hope you agree with me that we ought to write a new story and have a bigger, better, brighter future and a brighter, more optimistic tomorrow. So we started the publishing company, and Rick will tell you that he's one of our first 18 books, and we took 18 books to #1 on Amazon, and then it just is great fun. And we did a book called he's going to tell you about the whole Valley series, which we've done a couple of books in that, just because it's such an exciting idea to have all of you have great skills, great talents, great ability. And you want to bring it out and make it flourish, or at least I hope you do it. And all I'm here to do, my whole life as an inspirational speaker for over 55 years now, is to be the inspiration, sort of the key that turns on the engine that makes your life bigger, better, brighter, more exciting, more optimistic, more inventive, more creative, right? That's my dream and vision and hope and prayer. And with that, I will open it up to questions. But Rick, you're going to need to bring the microphone to somebody so I can hear what's said, because I won't be able to hear them otherwise, I don't think. I'll answer any question I might be able to, and I'll tell you if I'm not able to, which is probably equal amount of questions.
It's on.
All you got to do is raise your hand, and he'll bring you the microphone. You can ask anything you want about anything I might know.
All right. Mark, I'm going to warn you right now, Betty's got a great story.
Could we move the camera so I can see the person? I can't see him or her, whoever. I see a microphone, but I can't see. There we go. Hello there in a red scarf or a maroon scarf. Your name is?
Betty Cooper, but I think
Nice.
I met you with Sarah Akins in LA in 1984 when you decided you were going to be a millionaire. Do you remember Sarah, Dr. Sarah?
I do. Gosh, that's a few days ago, isn't it? And yes, I've written that down, and I'm en route, so there's no question about, having sold, Rick sort of had the wrong number. I actually have sold almost over 500 million, we're almost at 600 million books that I've sold, so I've done really well. Nobody in the book business has done more than me that I know of. So Guinness Book of Records says, yep, I remember that. Guinness Book of Records says I'm world's #1 best-selling author, and I'm very thankful. So I do remember that, yes.
Well, I can still remember when you said, I'm going to be a millionaire in probably 9 months. Do you remember telling us that there were 8 of us at your table?
Yep.
And I remember going to the room, and Dr. Sarah and I said, she sat there and she said, Betty, with Mark Hansen, it won't be 9 months, it'll be 6 months.
Good. Well, you got to figure out what you want to do, and you can talk that through to Rick, because I don't know if he's told you yet his own story, but he has been very successful and had 10,000 employees, and he made a lot of them millionaires. So the point is, you got to figure out what you want to do and then do it. And right now we're going into the greatest. I know the media says we're going into a depression. That's one level, but there's a whole other level that Forbes magazine this week says we're going to have 100 $100 billion companies. That's $10 trillion worth of AI, artificial intelligence companies. If you look at my videos, I'm saying that a lot of people are going to make a fortune just with what's happening with Tesla, because Elon Musk is my hero. He is just doing the coolest stuff ever. Everything from a phone that you just charge in the sun and it holds 2 terabytes of information. A lot of cool stuff. But we're going into the greatest thing. And all you got to do is find a business that needs fixing, fix it, scale it with Rick as a taskmaster with his wife Stacy, and then go out and make a fortune. And some of you say, well, I'm too old to make a fortune. So let me just hit that. At 97 years old, Grandma Moses started painting. By the time she was 100, she was getting $1,300,000 per piece of artwork. And she didn't die until she was 103. And she said, I don't think I ever want to die. I'm having too much fun painting. so yeah, you and I can live long, prosper, and do exceedingly well. And it doesn't matter when you start. I mean, we got a little kid that is worth $843,000, a little over 14 now, and did his book. So it's like way cool. We're in an exciting time if you hang around exciting people. You spend all your time watching all the negative news, you're going to crash and burn, because CNN should be called a crisis network as far as I'm concerned, and the rest of the media is absolutely positively negative rather than positive. And so, you know, there's great positive podcasts, and if you watch mine, I tell you all the other ones you ought to watch. So I hope that didn't offend you, but I'm holding up a mirror saying every one of you has millions of dollars worth of talent inside you, and the worst place that you could take it is a graveyard. You need to do your invention, do your creativity, do your song, do your business, get together with other people in the room and do a business, build your church or temple or ashram, mosque, whatever the heck you're doing, and just have fun doing it, and don't let age be anything but a number that is just, I don't care that you're 55, 75, 85, or 95, and just decide to, in favor of yourself, to say, hey, wait a second, if I really do have all this inward talent, then I've got an empire that I can build from the inside out. And seeing as I've helped a lot of people build their empires, and I'm thankful for guys like Rick, who certainly has an empire. Hope that helped.
Great. Anybody else?
Anyone else?
Mark Hayek.
Another thing that's interesting is Dr. Sarah was the minister when we met in '84 in Creve Coeur. And Rick is a millionaire now from the same location in Creve Coeur, Missouri. So, hey, your circles just keep going and going and going. That was 55 years ago. Just think.
Wow. But what it really says, it doesn't matter what your geography is, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your gender, it matters what you have going in your head. And I got to visit Andrew Carnegie's house, the guy who created all the libraries in America and made America great as an industrialist. And I did a video comparing Andrew Carnegie to Elon Musk and said, what's the difference or same? But he created the railroads, and when Rockefeller White tried to put him out of business by not shipping oil on the railroads by putting in pipes, he said, that's fine, I'll just create a brand new use for my steel. And he created high-rise buildings when he was in his 80s. And if you, all of us have been to New York, probably in a room there, he created the first Empire State Building, which most of you have been at, which was the highest until we had the World Trade Center Tower, which got taken down and then now it's put back up again. So it just shows what you can do and keep doing. And if you haven't visited Andrew Carnegie's house in New York, it's at 95th and 5th Avenue. It's owned by the Smithsonian. The first line he has, which I really love, is that in marble, and he only had a third degree education, is authors of the wealth of the nation. Well, I changed it to authors of the wealth of the world. Second line is that no man or woman can get rich without enriching all others, which is really good, because some of you have been mistaught by educators, and some of you are educators in the room, I'm sure. And unfortunately, our education system is down on entrepreneurship, guys, ladies and gentlemen who build businesses. And America's great because entrepreneurs in a free enterprise system that believes in the Constitution, that believes in the Declaration of Independence, have made it that my dream is, the guy who wrote the Declaration of Independence was a redheaded guy, one of my 4 favorite presidents, Thomas Jefferson. He said, hey, look, guys and ladies, if my candle's lit, yours isn't. Light years in mine. Doesn't take anything from mine that makes the world fourfold brighter. And that's what I really believe. And that's why when Rick asked me to come and talk to you to have you be cheered on. And I just did a whole video a couple days ago called Let Me Cheer You On and Cheer You Up. Let me cheer you up and cheer you on. It's sort of cool because everybody needs cheering on, but we need to be cheered on every day. Otherwise, we'll go into the doldrums, we'll go into depression, and depression and drugs, both pharmaceutical and otherwise, are really deleterious to our human health. I mean, most people don't get it that you don't want, you want to live long, prosper, but you want to feel good each and every day and be able to walk your 10,000 steps and be able to do 100 push-ups, and those are minimums, not maximums, and be able to read, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm in the book business, read at least one book a week and one biography or autobiography a month. And of course, I'd encourage you to start with mine and Rick's. Next question. I hope I'm not scaring you or intimidating you. That's not my goal.
Okay, with the chicken soup for the soul books.
Move the camera so I can see her, please.
Oh, the camera.
Tilt the camera this way.
This camera.
Thanks, Rick.
For the chicken,
Yep.
for the soup for the soul books, was that your ideal? And did people write into you with their stories, to tell the stories? For you to tell them?
Okay, so what happened is that Jack and I were talking to 6,000 people. He was the opening speaker at the Mandala Conference in San Diego. This is 1987. And I was the closing speaker. And he came up to me after I signed a gazillion books and was closing up my little shop. And he said, "Do you know me?" And I said, "Yeah, you're Dr. Jack Canfield, third in your class at Harvard, sold, I think, 370,000 copies of How to Build Self-Esteem in the Classroom. And curiously enough, you're teaching elementary school, which you're so bright, I'm amazed that that's what you're doing, but God bless." He said, "Well, can I take you to dinner?" And he said, "Man, I've never heard anyone tell stories like you." Long story short, we decided to do, although the question Art Linkletter and I always ask is, if you close your eyes, don't do it now, but if you close your eyes, how old do you feel? Not how old are you chronologically, because you're a biological age, you're a chronological age, but then you're a feeling age, and most of us feel 20 or 30 or 40 years younger. Like, I feel like I'm 28 inside. I have a high quantity health, high quality health, and I'm a positive attitude, which you've got to study positivity every day to stay positive, because it's easy to get, the metaphor of us over 50 is that you get old, grouchy, and grumpy, and junk. Anyhow, so we decided to do this because Art and I did a lot of places like this, but we were down at the Villages down in Florida, which has 500,000 people over 55 years old that are fairly well off, and we had 10,000 people a night, and we sold 10,000 books a night. And I had a bodyguard for Art because at 96 or 8, we were together for a lot of years, but for 30 years before that doing seminars. But people all wanted to hug him and kiss him and saying, "I grew up watching you on TV, Art. You're the most guy. I love you the most." And I had a bodyguard, and they said, "It was so nice you're his son." Well, his son is old enough to be my father, for gosh sake. So when I was there, I saw all these people have this great talent and have given up on themselves. And I thought, wow, what if our little publishing house could get all this talent? Because America needs you. I swear to you, America needs you to come back, because America's still got to be the capital on a shining hill, because we've got a bunch of faceless bureaucrats that are trying to destroy America right now. Now, some of you may not agree with that, but we've got some really bad guys over in Davos. We've got a really bad SOB named Soros, and I know I'm not supposed to get political here, and I'm just telling you that the only hope is that you come and edify some of the people that aren't getting edified. I just know the statistics in California, 75% of the kids graduating high school in California can't read. This is obscene. My parents were illiterate Danish people, and I loved them, but there's no ESL, English as a second language, and they came out of Denmark, and I was in remedial reading from 1st grade to 6th grade because I had a white-haired lady that I loved so much. I said, "When I grow up, I'm going to marry you." And she said, "That's sweet, but I got a husband." I said, "He'll die." Anyhow, the point I'm making is that we need you. You are a needed quantity. So we created our Savannah Valley series with books that just enchant you to wake up your emotions, to wake up your spirit, to wake up your life, to wake up your future, and not say, "Well, I'm going to spend all day playing bridge," or "If I could golf every course in the world." I'm not opposed to you doing any of that stuff, but you still have some hidden talent, some greatness, something that needs to be pulled out. And like I said, Plato said, whoever controls the story controls the future. I just want an optimistic story where we turn on the greatness in you and you let it out. Because Christ said you're not supposed to hide your light under a bushel. All of you got a light, and some of you say, well, no, I had it squished out of me by school, teachers, military, business, somebody, or my husband or wife. I don't care about any of that. What are you going to do today to make all of our tomorrows better? And I'm asking you to read the whole Savannah series, because every one of those books is meant to tune you in and turn you on to your higher, better, greater, grander, contributing self. Because someday you're going to look back before you go to the other side and say, what do I regret? And you don't regret what you did, you regret what you didn't do. And if you don't believe me, go on YouTube and watch all the near-death experiences, which my wife and I have watched. A lot of the 20,000 are on there. And every one of them said the people that died and went to the other side and then came back after being dead for an hour, 6 hours, or 12 hours, or 3 days, some of them. What happens is every one of them were told by whatever they thought they were going to see on the other side, an angel or God or a butterfly or whatever, every one of them was told, your mission's not done. What we teach in our Ask book is right, in Jeremiah in the Bible it says, before you were in your mother's womb, I knew you. Spirit lasts forever. Your body doesn't last. I don't know why you give away your eyes and your heart and all the stuff that's usable to somebody else. But we said, look, you got a destiny code, and you got to ask yourself, go to bed tonight 400 times, or before you go to sleep, push back sleep and say, what's my destiny? What's my destiny? God, what's my destiny? God, what's my destiny? I don't know what your destiny is, but you got a destiny. If you're alive, you're supposed to do something. And if you died now and didn't do what you voted with God before you came incarnate into physical being, and I know I'm on my bully pulpit, and you say, you sound like a thundering minister. Well, if I hadn't been a speaker, I would have been an evangelist. The fact of the matter is, you've got something to do. I don't know what you're supposed to do, but I look forward that you're going to communicate to Rick, and he'll send your letters to me, and we'll stay in touch. And, when I'm out there doing a seminar with Tom Hill and Rick and Stacy, hopefully you'll come, and you'll meet my wife, and you're going to say, oh my God, that day you came and talked to us on the big screen was transformational. Remember, I want you to, the Apostle Paul said, the most important line in the New Testament, because he wrote half of it, over a half of it, be transformed by the self-renewing of your mind. You're at a meeting today to transform your mind, and that's what that whole book series is about, is take you from good to phenomenally good. Right? The other thing Paul said is, you're God's greatest masterpiece. Now, if you're God's greatest masterpiece, now I just play bridge every day. I'm not opposed to you playing bridge sometimes. No, that's not a livelihood. Some of you say, well, I already made $1 million. Good for you. That's a platform to go on to greater things. Some of you say, well, I spent my whole life wanting to retire. Well, I own a place in Hawaii, in Kona, and you see all these people that are 80 that saved their whole life to go to Hawaii. Now they can't even go to the beach. They can't surf. They can't sail with me. They can't windsurf. They can't do anything because they didn't take care of their health. Health is the greatest wealth. Take care of your health, care of your wealth, take care of your relationships, and decide to be fully, dynamically, vitally alive. I'm cheering you on as much as I can from the bleacher of my seat here in my home. And I hope it is inspirational. Some of you, it'll probably shut off and turn off, and if that's true, I apologize to you personally, but because you can only be offended if you allow yourself to be offended. The book I've done on Reverend Ike, the biggest black minister ever, is, he said, you only got to worry about two opinions, God's opinion of you and your opinion of you, not your spouses, not your kids, not your ancestors, right? But I can tell you, my ancestors prayed that somebody in the family would do what I'm doing, and I am very thankful I got to be in the destiny code that I'm in, to write, speak, do business, and build churches and help charities. Like we're in child help. Child help's been around 60 years, and I work with two 88-year-old ladies that are dying on might. Go online and look at child help. We've helped 12.5 million kids get out of abuse, neglect, and sex trafficking. Every kid should be loved, and there are a lot of kids out there that need to be loved by you. And I'll just do one more Art Linkletter thing. Art said, hey, look, we taught our kids and our grandkids to read. They got to teach us how to compute and do digital living. I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has been helpful, nod your head. If it hasn't, shake your head.
All right, last chance. Anybody have anything for Mark?
Anything else?
Mark, I can't thank you enough. I so much appreciate it. I love you. You know this. I am so excited to be part of this project with you. I'm so glad you're in my life. Thank you for coming in and speaking to everybody here today. And thank you for all you're doing for us with your writing and everything you have going on out there. So,
All right.
God bless, my friend.
Look forward to meeting all of you when I get out there with Rick and Tom Hill. Thank you, everybody. Blessings.
Well, I really wish that guy had something to say. Sorry, that was so boring. That man has more energy in his little finger than I can muster up in a week. Yes?
I think we need to take a break right now.
That's great. Do that?
Yep.
Okay. So, be back in
Oh, back 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Perfect.
Enjoyed Mark's comments as much as I did. I only heard one complaint. They said they couldn't hear as fast as he could talk.
That is so true. So true.
Rick, it's up to you.
Great. Well, I didn't properly get a chance to thank everybody and thank Tom for having me here today. This is pretty exciting. My wife was supposed to join us, but she is receiving an award today for her work in real estate. So she chose to do that, which I guess that makes sense, and sent me out here to die alone. So, but the really cool thing is since usually she tells her part of the story, I get to do that, and I get to make it up any way I want. And she's not here to yell at me. So, the really cool thing is the ride home, I also will not be getting in trouble for anything I said today. Until she watches this recording, and then she'll correct me. But what I want to talk about today, and what what Mark kind of illustrated is that this Savannah Valley series, and our book Maestro, is about rediscovering your purpose in the next chapter of your life. That's what this whole series is written on. That's what our book was written on. And the book is based on a section of our life that I will get to in just a minute. So, a little bit about myself and my wife. So, and you can see, that's my wife. She is much prettier than me. My life started way back in, my journey started back when I was 14 years old. I fell in love with entrepreneurship, with business. I started working for I had two uncles at the time that both owned their own businesses, and I went to work for them every day after school. And I absolutely fell in love with not just the money, but the fulfillment of a good, honest, hard day's work. At the age of 16, I went to work for a gentleman that will eventually become my stepfather. And I did lawn care services and landscape services on the weekends and after school. At the age of 19, I bought him out of half of his company. I took it in a different direction, and he went in the direction of excavating, I went in the direction of landscape. At the age of 23, at a very pivotal point in my life, where I unfortunately realized I married the wrong woman the first time. I got it right next. I needed to sell that business. So at a very early age, I kind of was already struggling with loss. I had just lost a wife, but more so, we had had a daughter together, and I went from being an everyday father to a every other weekend father. And then I was forced to sell that business through the divorce. So at a very early age, I was feeling lost, no purpose, scared, alone, very uncertain of what the future held for me. I met a couple that owned a couple of cell phone stores through an acquaintance. And I went to work for them, and I told myself, I'm going to do this for 1 year. And I just want to get my head straight, figure out what has life got in store for me. I thought for sure that I'd just work there for a year and then restart the business that I was forced to sell. I fell in love with the business. And they were cell phone stores. I helped them grow. They had 3 stores at the time. I helped them grow to about 8. Then I saw an opportunity to expand into another market, in the Kansas market. So we grew to about 16 as I partnered with them. Then I saw that I wanted to take this bigger, so I bought them out and grew it to 120 locations across the nation. Mark was a little off. I guess I was off. I guess I over-exaggerated his book sales. I really thought it was at 800,000, but as you can see, as fast as he talks, I'm sure I got that number from somewhere. But he exaggerated a little bit. It wasn't 10,000 employees. It was 1,000 though. So I had 1,000 employees nationwide. I was again on top of the world. I was the #1 AT&T authorized. I was the 3rd largest, but I was the #1 selling authorized retailer in the nation. I was being called on by every market out there to come open up stores in our area. The way I ran my businesses and the way I run my businesses today is people first, people over profit. And I took care of my employees and I moved them along their life journey. I had several programs. I focused more on programs to help them move along in their life than I even did focusing on the sales in my own business. Come 2017, let's say late 2016, I heard of the news that there was going to be a major change in the business. In 2017, AT&T changed the way they compensated their dealers. Now, as I mentioned, I was in the middle of a massive growth. I had grown to 120 locations. And I had done modeling to make sure that all these locations were going to be profitable based on the way AT&T was paying its dealers. But through that shift, this business no longer made sense. And again, I was forced with a situation where I was left with no choice but to sell my business that I had been building for 23 years. The story of Maestro takes place during this time of my life. Again, for the 2nd time in my life, I've lost my purpose. My purpose was the business I had built, the 1,000 employees that I was able to care for, all the programs that I had put together for them. Everything that was my identity was there, or so I thought. I was lost and confused. We closed the sale in January of 2018, and I spent most of 2018 just really searching why. It was towards the end of 2018 where all of a sudden I started realizing, what was it all for? What was all my sacrifice about? Why did all the things I missed in my kid's life, all for what? So 2018 and 2019 for me was a very difficult time of searching for my next purpose. And I knew that I had to keep going. I mean, I got to keep up with Mark, right? He's never going to let you stop. Now, my wife, she chose a more traditional path. She went to college. She got her master's degree in language arts. She was a teacher. She was in sales. There's just nothing this woman can't do. And at the exact same time that I was trying to understand my new purpose in life, she was struggling with loss as well. Her mother had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. The really sad part about that is I was on a mission trip in Cambodia, all the way on the other side of the world, when she had learned that her mother had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. So imagine being all the way on the other side of the world, not being able to be there with your wife when she needs you the most. Very painful. But nevertheless, both of us were dealing with a lot of loss. Loss of purpose, loss of loved one, loss of life. at any point in time, something like that, especially when both people are dealing with this in a marriage, that could destroy your marriage. When one person's dealing with it, it's easy for the other just to become a comforter. But when you're both dealing with your own stuff, you're both dealing with this, who's lifting who up? Now, I love saying this, that yes, I married my wife a long time ago, but I fell in love with my wife in 2018. She was my rock, as well as I was her rock while she was dealing with all of this. I don't even know where I am on the slide. See, she keeps me on track with all this stuff. So good, yeah. So, fast forward to 2021, and I had now started another business. My wife has found her home in real estate, and we are a mentor of mine, Tom Hill. I think you guys heard Mark mention him a couple of times, who is very good friends with Mark, had said, you need to write a book. And I could not for the life of me figure out why I need to write a book. I was like the least interesting person on the planet. But he goes, I'm going to introduce you to Mark Victor Hansen. So he made the introduction, and Mark said, tell me your story. 2.5 hours later, because he actually did let me speak, 2.5 hours later, he said, not only do I want you to tell your story, but I want you to do it in the Savannah Valley series. And he explained this vision he had for this series. What I loved about it is it's written in a fictional format, because I cannot write a book about myself, and nor could I even have them help me write about myself and my story. It's just not in me. But to be able to mask our story behind characters, that was fascinating to me. So it was really cool to get this opportunity. But Mark said, he goes, hey, I've heard you mention your wife over and over and over and over and over throughout your story. What if she co-authored it with you? Now, at first I thought, okay, this is really cool. What a great way to honor her. And this is a project we get to do together, because we've always done our own thing separately. Did not know how difficult it actually was going to be to write a book together. I'm glad Mark married the perfect woman, and he's got the 276 things checked off, and it was easy for him, but it was not easy for us. But it wasn't easy for us because we were both like trying to deal with our emotions as we're writing this book. And yet, the whole idea behind this series is it's supposed to be inspirational. So we really had to figure out how to make these characters reflect us, reflect our story, but motivate for people to help people see the next chapter in their lives. I'm going to make sure that I'm covering everything that she usually handles here. Yeah. So we get asked a lot, like, well, why did you write this book? Well, we wanted to honor the people in our lives that showed up in our time of need. So I will try to do my best to give you a little bit of an idea of what Maestro is all about without ruining the book for you, because I certainly hope you buy one or buy one of the others in the series. So Maestro is about Goddard. Goddard is my character in the book. And Goddard is a world-renowned maestro. His wife has died about a year ago, and he spent the last year wrapping up his tours and everything that he was doing, his concerts, and he was working a lot in Hollywood. And he is going to retire to this amazing place called Savannah Valley. Now, Savannah Valley is a fictitious retirement community in Savannah, Georgia, where the wealthiest of wealthy retire. So he has his penthouse all set up, and he shows up on day one, ready to retire and shut it all down. Now the reflection there is that's kind of where I was right after the sale of my business. For me, I had owned that business longer than I had been married, so that was actually the death of my first true love. So in the story, it's his wife. In real life, it was the business. Now, I could have retired and just been left alone, and that's kind of where I was. But people kept showing up in my life going, no, you're not done. You're not done. You're just getting started. So you will see early on in the book that there is this invasion into his life called the Welcoming Committee. And these people pour into him and get him to realize that he has more to give. Maureen, the character in one of the characters in the book, and one of the Welcoming Committee, is my wife, my wife's character. Maureen is this fascinating woman. She's a novelist. She lives there at Savannah Valley, very accomplished, but very insecure. And just as my wife is, she lacked self-confidence when we first met. But through years of encouragement, she has now flourished, and she's amazing, obviously, as she's receiving this award today. So the whole book is about tragedy and trying to overcome that tragedy and finding new purpose. So the whole Savannah Valley series. So I told you a little bit about Maestro, and I'm happy to answer questions about that. And I'll tell you a little bit about Savannah Valley as we go. So the really cool thing about the Savannah Valley series is that it's right now currently 6 books by 6 different authors. This has never been done before. Obviously, you've met Mark, you know how creative he is, and you know how his mind works. He wanted to do something that nobody has ever done before, and he chose 6 people to write their stories in fictional formats. So Stacy and I would write the book, write our story, and then we turn it over to the Mark Victor Hansen team. So we'd write a few chapters, turn it over, and what they would do is they would go in, and first of all, they would guide us as to what we should be doing. But secondly, they would change the names of the streets and the restaurants and stuff to match in all 6 books, because he created Savannah Valley. So each one of these authors did the same thing that we did, is wrote their stories, and then they took the stories in the background and created a community out of it. You saw Mitzi Perdue. He mentioned Mitzi Perdue, right? The only double heiress we think in the world. Her dad started Sheraton, and then she married Frank Perdue. So I mean, she's doing okay. She has rich widows. Now, I will tell you something fascinating about this series is that you can jump into this series anywhere you want. There's no one book, there's no last book. It's really cool the way they did this. So you can jump in with Maestro, but as you start to read some of the other books, it'll tie the whole story together. I will say, Mitzi's book kind of tells you how Savannah Valley came about. That's really cool. They also did is that the characters will carry over to other stories. So Goddard, my character, actually makes an appearance in Nightingale, and I think also in All About Henry. So these authors, I will tell you this, Ruby. Ruby is a fascinating book, great Christmas book. And I just love Randall Kenneth Jones' vision, and I cannot tell you anything about that book to pretty much spoil it, but I can promise you, you will love that read. And Ruby is a fascinating character. But anyway, so he created the Savannah Valley series, and each one of these stories we had parameters we had to write in. So there can't be scandal. There's nothing bad in any of it. They're supposed to be motivational, and they're all directed towards overcoming objectives and finding new purpose in life. Each one of these people, so like my book, in Maestro, our book is kind of a leadership book because that's my background. So obviously, a maestro is a leader, and I'll get into why we chose the character Maestro in a little bit. But in let's see, Nightingale, Tony Lopes. Tony is a real estate investor, very successful, retired at the age of 40. He's got a great story. But in his book, it really talks about the importance of the backstory's importance of investing in real estate and stuff like that. But trust me, you won't see that by reading it. But each one of us, our stories are baked into these books. So before I go on, is there any questions about, so far what I've said about the Savannah Valley series, Mark's vision behind it, his idea, our book? Yes?
So did you choose I don't know how to ask, not really the theme, but the maestro, did you choose that that field to write yours around?
No, so yeah, that's a great question. No. When I told Mark my story, he said, oh my gosh, and I told him a lot about how I operated my businesses and I really kind of focused on people and everything else, and he goes, oh my gosh, you're like a maestro. And the reason he said this, and this is so fascinating to me, is that if you think about it, a maestro stands facing the people that are most important to him. He stands facing his team. He's got his back to his customers. He's got his back to all the people he's trying to impress. And he's solely focused on the people in front of him. And that's how I always ran my businesses, is I always had my back to the end result, because I knew if I got my team right, if I knew if I took care of my people, that the audience, my customers, would be quite pleased with what we had to, with what we did. So I always faced my team, and so he just saw he saw this whole thing as being a maestro. So he actually sent me down the path of write your book as if you were a maestro. So great question. Again, only Mark can come up with that stuff. Any other questions? All right. So we get asked a lot, what's next for Maestro? So I will say, and I'm free to say so because my wife's not here because she hates it when I say this, but I've already started writing the second book in the Maestro, because the Maestro itself will have a series within Savannah Valley. I've got 3 books planned for that. So we are already working on the second one. Again, by we, I mean me, because my wife's going to kill me. And the really cool thing about Maestro is, and I got to be careful not to spoil it for you, but as you read the book, I think you can kind of realize that obviously I wouldn't write an inspirational book about finding your next chapter if Maestro doesn't actually find his next chapter. So at the end of the book, he does find his passion for his next chapter. And the next book is going to be more focused on my wife, more focused on Maureen's story, but Goddard is going to be going back into music, but this time he's not going to be quite as fulfilled as he was the first time, because there's something working in him that is going to move him more towards a passion for helping others. And you'll kind of start to see that in the book as you read it, that this new thing that he's got coming is more focused on others. And what that is in my real life, and the reason I've just started writing this book, is the latest project that I've started in the company that I now have in Vital. So in the intro, thank you, Tom, that he kind of mentioned that I owned several other businesses, but Vital is where my passion is right now. So Vital, I'll tell you just briefly about that so that you can kind of see where I'm going with the Maestro series. So Vital is actually, it's a water bottle company, but it's more than just a water bottle. It's an actual tangible thing you carry throughout the day to help keep you focused on what's truly, truly important to you, what's vital to you. So it's about moving people along in their life journey. So, for instance, we're a great gift-giving opportunity. We've had people that have had cancer that have bought for other friends. We put we engrave on the side of the bottles messages of hope to keep them going throughout their tragedy. We've done a whole bunch of different works with different organizations, really trying to help people. So in Maestro 2, what we're going to be, what Goddard is going to be doing and what we're gathering through this Project Vital is the stories that we're learning from people of tragedy and heartache. We're going to roll those into Maestro 2. And Goddard and Maureen are really going to be investing in these people for the second half of their careers. Her being a writer, him being a performer. So the book is being written as we are growing this business, and we're using all the interactions and stories that we're gathering to write this book. So it'll be a little time coming, but it's absolutely very cool that we're able to do that. The other thing we have, and this is what Mark is super excited about us to be doing, is we call it Maestro, the book club and workshop. So what we're doing with this, we're just wrapping up our test group right now. We've got 2 more weeks. But Stacy, as I told you, she has a master's in language arts. So we took her master's in language arts, and she used to be a teacher, so she knows how to put curriculum together. And we created a book club workshop. So it's 6 weeks long, and we go through 3 chapters each week with the book. So as a normal book club, you would talk about how the characters resonate with you, what you got out of it, and everything else. But the other thing we do is we take Stacy's expertise in language arts, and she teaches you how to write your own story. So she teaches you what to do in the first 3 chapters, what to do in the next 3 chapters, and so on and so forth. So at the end of this 6-week program, not only have you read a great book, but you now have the framework to maybe write your own story, whether it be in a fictional format or in a first person. The reason we're doing this is because Mark said it over and over and over, and we firmly believe it, which is why we got involved in this, is that we want everybody's stories to be told. You all have stories. And we're all here today, so that means whatever we've dealt with in life, we survived it. We made it. And we know that you all have stories of motivation, that your next generations to come can learn from. So in this group right now that we're wrapping up, it's absolutely unbelievable to hear their stories being told. And I'll share one with you. Yesterday we had on Wednesday mornings we do this. Gentleman in there in this group, his name is Bob. And he just broke down and says, "Can I tell you my story?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to hear it." He said, I have not shared this with many until I got involved with your book club, and I want to write my story. I think it needs to be told. So him and his wife, young couple, they were 23 at the time, they had a son. He was playing with mom, was going to run down the hall to go play with dad. Mom came in and said, "Bob, where is he?" They go, "I don't know, I thought he was with you." Well, they have a pool. You can imagine what happened. While they're dealing with that, they learned that she was pregnant again, and this time with twins. But obviously, with the tragedy that had happened, the pregnancy didn't go the full term, and this was back in the early 80s, so they were born premature. One was born still, the other lived for a few hours. So if you can imagine, in a time frame of less than 6 months, they lost 3 children. And he said, "But I'm here. I've had a great successful career at Boeing, and I've got 2 healthy kids. They know this story, but they don't know the whole story. They don't know what I went through, what their mother went through." And he goes, "I want them to know. And I want my grandkids and great-grandkids to know." And what I told Bob is, "Bob, you have to write this story. You have to. Because your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, they're going to go through something in life. And if they have this that they can look back on and go, look what my grandparents, great-grandparents, whoever it is, look what they were able to overcome. I can overcome this. So through this book club workshop that we're doing, we're trying to encourage everybody out there to write your stories. And it doesn't have to be in such an unbelievable format like this. It's just simple writing. And through this workshop, which I do have printouts of it, I'll put it up here for you if you want to check it out. My wife has put together a great curriculum, and she kind of explains what you're going to do in each step of writing your story. So we're very excited about this. Like I said, we're just testing it right now with a group at our church. It's our hopes to test it a few more times, obviously. But then after that, towards the latter half of this year, we're going to roll it out to retirement communities across the nation to try to get everybody to write a story. The second and the more fun part of what we're going to do with the workshop is that after everybody's written their story, that if a few within the community want to create their own Savannah Valley. So we've got this whole other thing we're working on that's really kind of cool, to where you would bring your stories together, kind of like what we did, and you would match the streets and the names and just create a, with friends or family or with your community, your very own Savannah Valley. So that's something else that we're working on with Maestro the Book Club. Any questions about that? Okay. I must not be doing a very good job, because I was told you guys love to ask questions. All right. So, we get asked a lot, why a maestro? The way we look at it is, imagine walking into this unbelievable concert hall. You look around, amazed at all of the beauty, just mesmerized by the architecture, wondering who could have such an amazing vision. And as you work your way to your seat, you hear what could only be described as noise, as musicians tune their instruments. But with the tap of a baton, silence. And with the graceful stroke of both hand and baton, harmony, an unbelievable sound, beauty is produced. What we really hope people get from our book and what they get from this series is to be a maestro yourself. Be a maestro to your family, be a maestro to your friends, be a maestro to your community. First, calm the noise, but then realize just how important every person is that is in front of you. And just to realize that we all have value, we all have worth. And if we spent more time lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down, imagine the concert we could put on. Now, the hidden message that my wife and I believe is, go back to when you walk into this amazing concert hall. We look at that concert hall as the world God gave us. Beautiful and mesmerizing. And the noise you hear of the musicians tuning their instruments, it's just us trying to live our lives the best we can. Messy, noisy. Right now, definitely not in tune. And we believe that maestro that takes the stage, that taps the baton, we believe it to be Jesus. Calming the noise and guiding us to a better way of living. If we would all just follow his teachings, imagine the world we'd be living in. But that's why we love the character of Maestro. I know that Mark had a different, Mark set the stage for it. The reason we agreed to it is because we really believe that he was a maestro. And we want to honor him through that. So, again, my wife is usually here to do a lot more of her stuff. I would not be able to do it justice, so I'm pretty close to being done. If anybody has any questions. No questions. All right. Okay, well, what I will say is that we have the books for sale over here. I have obviously a lot of our books, and my wife has already pre-signed them, because again, she apologized she couldn't be here. I'm happy to sign them. We also have books over here for from the other series. I have a few of them. I don't have a lot of those. If you're interested in any of those. Normally they're 15 to 25. We do it for 10 and 20. 10 for the paperback, 20 for the hard. And I don't think I missed anything. So with that, I guess.
Rick, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good job. You and Mark, and thank you very, very much for graduating through this. Our very best to Stacy as well. And you'll stay here for a bit.
Yep.
If anyone's interested in looking at your books or buying any books. We thank you for coming, and this is, as I said, being recorded. I hope to have it posted on our website by midday tomorrow, as well as the entire sites that is up here as well. We have a question?
Did you say that the class yesterday will be on the website?
It's already on the website now.
So how do we do that?
You go on your computer, go to lirjc.org, which is our website, click on courses in the upper right hand corner, and you'll see all the courses for this spring. Go to the bottom, and that's where all of our past presentations are. At the very top, you will see yesterday. You'll see the video, you'll see both slideshows. And by tomorrow, on top of that, you will see Rick's and Mark's slideshow as well, slideshow and video. Any other questions? Thank you again for coming today. Please don't get wet. It is not raining right now. And hopefully not before you get back to St. Louis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, great.
Welcome.
Weather satellites. They promised that they would do it over there. They had a little bit of monsoon, they promised there would be no rain, and there was no rain. No, I'm not. Follow the money. Why or something? Yeah. She does a good job. I think is going to committees to support certain candidates. Because it's follow the money, the money comes
Actually, that's how we got to. She was out here, and I was-